believes I can't sleep.
It's time to listen to Courtney at last on the Ramblings of an Insomniac podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Ramblings of an Insomniac. I'm Courtney. Hi. How are you? It is turning out to be a pretty nice day today. In fact, it's supposed to be like 90. And then oddly, it goes down to like 67. And then it's going to remain in like the low 70s for a while. So that's pretty perfect. Pretty perfect weather for the fall period. Again, I'm exercising my dogs, and again, you are going to hear them in the background because apparently this is just part of the routine. This is part of the ritual that is the Ramblings of an Insomniac. You just hear my dogs. What would my podcast be if you did not constantly hear my dogs in the background panting and barking and running away? And apparently airplanes now, because that's usually par for the course. Now my cats will probably start chiming in pretty soon. Anyway, howdy. It is I don't even know what day it is anymore. I've been up for, I don't know, a very long time. It is Tuesday the something, and the 24th. And I have a lot keeping me up. I have so much keeping me up that my brain has turned into just a big mushy stew. Just full of all kinds of stuff, just marinating in there, and I'm stewing upon it. I'm stewing. So we'll just get right into it. By the way, hey, if you're listening for the first time, thank you. Welcome. Hello. You will either love this or you will be like, what the hell? This is the most unorganized, unprofessional, poor quality crap and a bunch of rambling, and you will hate it and you will never listen to me ever again. And that's okay. That is your choice. This podcast is not everybody's cup of tea because of the fact that it is unprofessional, unedited, and I don't usually, I don't edit anything. And so you can hear all this stuff, and it probably is kind of poor quality. So, it may not be your cup of tea, and that's okay. But if it is, and you have been listening, I appreciate that. That is awesome. And I very, very much love that you appreciate my content, that you feel that what I'm talking about is worth listening to again. Most people try to spend their time shutting me up and don't want me to talk. So, hey, I appreciate the support. All right. What is on my brain? What's been keeping me up? Relationships, as I've discussed in my last couple of podcasts. That's still going, but the good news is when you can actually be adults and you can get to a place of maturity and you can discuss things like adults and not fight, and you can be in a good place. That's always nice. And it's nice when you don't have to feel nervous and scared about moving on. I mean, it's still a lot. But when you're not having to worry as much as you thought about, oh my gosh, Gwen, ew. Oh Lord, she is in our kiddie pool that has so much algae in it. No, get out. That is gross. Oh God, I wish you guys could see this. This is why I need to do my podcast on YouTube so that people can see. Oh my good gravy. Yikes. Anyway, my dog got into this kiddie pool that we have for the deer, and we fill it up with water, and it apparently is now algae ridden, and she just gross. I just gave her a bath too. She just swam all up in it. Lovely. Anyway, relationships, as I've discussed, they can be difficult, especially when people are struggling with different things. And, it takes two, like that Morgan Wallen Post Malone song. It's like, I think I think I had some help. I didn't do this all by myself. It's true. Teamwork makes the dream work. I don't remember the name of that song, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Um, it's true. It takes two people to tango. Um, I'm not a perfect person. It just sucks because when you have resentment and you get to a place that you just don't even like each other, it's sad. It's sad when you make the decision that you need to move on, even if you know it's what's best, even if it's from a relationship that you think is, a really bad one. It still sucks because, especially when there's 12 years into that relationship and you made a lot of decisions in your life based on thinking that you were going to be together. People make decisions on where they're going to live and what jobs they have. And, they base those things dependent on the other person. And a lot of times you wouldn't have made those decisions, obviously, if you weren't with that person. And so it sucks because I would have definitely, I had different plans for my life and I felt like I put them on hold. I felt like I have been waiting to do the things that I want to do with my life. And so part of me is upset because I feel like what a waste of time. I could have been doing so many things a long time ago. And, I'm no spring chicken. So that sucks. But it is what it is. And it's nice if you can do it, like I said, like grown adults. And you can leave maybe better off than you were, because when you have a really unhealthy relationship and all you know is the bad, it's kind of sad when it takes leaving to be nicer to each other almost. It takes making the decision to not be together to suddenly bond. It's like you're bonding over the fact that you don't like each other anymore. I don't know. It's just weird. And it's, again, it's weird to do it at my age. Gosh, my dog is panting really hard in the background. Go get your ball. Go find the white one. So it is just odd. It's an odd position to be in. I have a lot of dogs. I wouldn't have got all these dogs had I known that I was going to have to move. I wouldn't have stayed in Oregon. I would have moved a long time ago like I wanted to. I would have started my dog rescue business quite a while ago, and I definitely would not have stayed at the job that I have currently. I would have been gone a long time ago. So I try not to get into that resentful, bitter thing, because everybody does that. They get with somebody and they make decisions to move certain places and have certain jobs and settle down because you think that's where your life is going to be. You think you're going to be with that person forever. And so when that doesn't happen, it kind of sucks because a lot of people make sacrifices for each other. And had they not got together, those sacrifices wouldn't be made and you'd be doing other things. But then that makes me sound like an asshole because it makes it sound like I'm saying, well, God, if you get in a relationship, then you just don't get what you want and you're making sacrifices and then they screw everything up because they hold you back. That's not true, because obviously if you're with a good partner, you're going to support each other, and there'll be sacrifices and compromises on both parts, on both parties. And you'll find a balance, you'll be happy and you can make a happy life together. But it's weird when you're in a relationship for so long and you just feel like it's so much work. Nora! And it becomes work and you start realizing that having a conversation is so forced. And you realize you don't want to be intimate with somebody and that feels forced. And Nora! Ugh, sorry about that. My gosh. My dog is totally deaf and I keep letting her roam around. She needs to be on a lead because she's deaf and she starts wandering because she's got beagle in her and her nose gets her in trouble. So then she follows her nose and then she can't hear. And I have a bunch of elderly. It's like I have a nursing home. I have a bunch of very elderly pooches and they're all losing their hearing and or eyesight. So it's like me. And then you throw me in and I'm having to pee every 5 seconds and I'm losing my mind. So we're just a bunch of crazies wandering around the property. Anyway, it just stinks when you realize that it's not going to work out and you need to change course. You need to find a different path, and it's not with the person that you thought it was going to be with. But I know this sounds terrible, but when you get to that point and you finally have made that decision, it's almost freeing. I know it sounds terrible. It's also sad. It's also frustrating. It's also disappointing. You're losing somebody that you once loved very much and cared for very much. I mean, I still care for this person, obviously, very, very much. But so it's like you're going through grief, you're going through all those stages of grief. But once you have accepted it, it almost feels liberating, because now the things that I felt I couldn't do, or the things I felt I was holding myself back or being held back from or whatever, I can do now. I've done it on my own. I'm an only child, as I've told you guys before, and I've come from very much a background of having to take care of myself. I'm from a long line of addicts, and I never really had anybody at all to rely on. And I've always made my own dinners and got myself to and from school, and I've just always taken care of myself. And so it's nothing I can't do. And in fact, I do better when I'm stressed. I do better under pressure. I've always got the best jobs when I'm under pressure. And I kind of thrive that way. So I know I can do it. But again, it doesn't mean it doesn't suck. It doesn't mean it's not hard. It doesn't mean it's not going to be sad. Because it is. I'm leaving something that I thought I was going to have. And I'm leaving a relationship that I thought was going to be the person that I marry, and that is difficult. But then it also makes you go, okay, I've learned some things. I've learned some things I need to fix, some things to work on. I've learned some things I'm going to keep and I'm not going to change about myself. I've learned what I'm going to compromise and what I'm not going to compromise on. I've learned what I will tolerate. I've learned boundaries. I've learned a lot, so I'm trying to be like, well, I've got something out of it. And of course, I got a relationship that, did have its good times. But it's sad when you see the warning signs from many, many miles away and you just steer around them. You just keep going around the curves and avoiding. And sure, you'll have your little bumper to bumper incidences. You'll kind of have your little spats, or you'll have your really big spats. And those really big spats, you're like, God, we can't do this. This is super mental. This is really unhealthy. And healthy people don't speak to each other like this and don't say or do these things. And you're like, okay, we got to get out. This is bad. It's really unhealthy. And if this were my friend, I'd be going, why are you staying in this relationship? Why are you in an unhealthy relationship? And you would shake them and be like, wake up, move on. But of course, when you're in your own nut show, when you're in your own starring in your own show, you see those things and you're like, God, I gotta get out of this. This isn't healthy. I gotta get out of this. But you just get into that routine and you get into the normal and you start tolerating it because it starts becoming normal and you just become numb. And, it's that whole cycle. We all know it's that whole cliche thing. Most of us have been there at one point or another. And come on, Mo. My dog's been eating blueberries. He's obsessed with blueberries excuse me, not blueberries, plums. He's been eating plums out of my neighbor's yard and blackberries. And I looked it up. Plums aren't bad as long as they don't eat the pit, but it will give them possibly diarrhea or maybe upset their tummy. I don't know how he hasn't had both because he's been going crazy and then eating blackberries. It's quite adorable. He picks them off the bush, but he's an addict. He's an addict. Even my dog is an addict. But speaking of that, when I grew up around addicts, I thought that I would never be with one, and come on, Gwenny, let's go. And then you do. And you do all the things and you tolerate all the things you said you wouldn't. And you do all the things you say you won't. And then you finally are like, all right, I'm going to leave. And you're like, all right, I got this. I'm going to leave. I need to leave. It's best for both of us. And then you look at the economy and you look at the Biden economy and you're like, shit, how the fuck am I going to make it from 2 income to a 1 income household? How am I going to pay for groceries? How am I even going to afford to move into an apartment when they want a lot? And you start going shit. But then you're like, well, God, I don't want to live here just because it's convenient. I don't want to live here just because I can't afford to move. But if you can't afford to move, what do? I live in my car with my 6 dogs. And then I think, okay, I got to get a roommate. Then I'm like, well, what do I do with my 6 dogs? And I wouldn't have got 6 dogs had I known I was going to be single. And I feel like I have to pick between my dogs and I know, and like being homeless. And I know that people are like, oh, boohoo, there's bigger things in the world. But like I always say, there's always going to be something bigger going on than you. Someone's always going to have it worse. There's always going to be something worse going on in the world than what I'm going through or what you're going through. But that does not mean that I'm not allowed to be stressed or happy or sad or angry or, anxious or stressed in any way. I can still be sad. I can still be stressed, even though there are bigger things going on in the world. Because trying to find a house and trying to come up with money to be able to pay rent and going from 2 incomes to 1 and trying to come up with deposits and figuring out what to do with my 6 dogs is a bit stressful. And ending a relationship that you've been in for 12 years is sad and stressful. And living somewhere that you haven't wanted to live and you only chose to live here because of the other person and having a job that I would have quit a long time ago. I love my customers. I absolutely love my customers. And that's why I've stayed. I've stayed because my customers have become like family. Those dogs, I care about those dogs so much. And I know the customers, they tell me things and I don't want to leave them. I want them to feel safe. I want them to feel like they can drop off their dog with people that are going to treat them like family. So then I take that on, and I know that's not my responsibility because I'm not the owner. I shouldn't take that on. I shouldn't stay just so that our customers can feel happy. But I like our customers a lot, and I want them to feel happy and good. Come on, guys. So then I stay. And I stay because we have new owners and I want them to get comfortable knowing the place. But again, that's not my responsibility. And if anybody else would ask my advice, I'd say, you don't need to take that on. That's not your responsibility. They're the owners. The owners need to figure it out. It's up to the owners to learn the job. And the customers can't expect you to live there until you die, to work there until you die. At some point, they know you're going to leave. So I say these things and then I'm just loyal to a fault. That's why I stay in relationships that are bad, because I'm loyal to a fault. And it's dumb. And so that's something that I want to change. That's something I've learned. I've learned boundaries. I've learned what I will tolerate, what I won't tolerate. I've learned what things I do that I need to change and, behaviors I need to change and behaviors I won't tolerate. Like I will not tolerate anybody that drinks. I just can't. I mean, if it's genuinely casually once in a while, that's fine. I just mean, if you have to have a drink every day, I know I won't tolerate that. But come on, guys, let's go. Come on, Mo. Let's go, crew. But you're gonna hear me huffing and puffing because I've been walking up and down our hill, and I'm getting winded because it's already getting hot, and my dog is panting. Whew. So relationships are hard, as we all know. This is nothing new. You're not hearing this for the first time, I'm sure. If you are, then hey, good for you, because that either means A, you've always had really good relationships, which is awesome. I need to talk to you. You should probably, pick out my next partner if I have one. I think I'm genuinely just going to be by myself for a while and figure stuff out and all of that. But once I'm ready, I'll have to have somebody else pick somebody. Mosby! Now my dog is on the other side of the fence, and then he always gets stuck and acts like he doesn't know how to get back out, even though he went over there in the first place. It's very annoying. Come on, Mo. Oh my gosh, my dog is so addicted to plums that he is now going under the fence of our neighbors and eating plums. No, Mosby, get over here. Are you kidding? He seriously is so addicted. He does not want to come back over here. Come on, stop eating plums. But it means that either you've had such good, if this is the first time you're hearing this, then that means you've either had really, really good relationships and you haven't had to put up with fights. Although that kind of makes me question things, because if you've been together for a long time and you've never had a fight, that's a bit weird. Everybody's got to have an argument once in a while. I don't mean an unhealthy, punching each other, yelling and screaming. I just mean it's good to argue once in a while, because if you're not arguing once in a while, you're probably bottling it up. And bottling up is no good. It'll come out later in unhealthy ways. But it either means you've never, or you haven't been in a relationship long enough to have experienced it, which, hey, that means like you're in your honeymoon phase. And that's amazing. And hopefully you'll always stay in that. Come on, guys. God, it's like that meme where you're trying to wrestle all the ducks, but they're all going in a different direction. Lord. Oh, my good gravy. It's honestly that meme with the ducks everywhere, and you finally get one duck and then they all go all the other way, or that little boy that's got his pants down and he's outside in like a porta potty and the toilet paper roll is downhill and it keeps unrolling and he's got his pants down. That's like, honestly, the epitome of my life. The epitome of my life. Oh, and I'm winded and I've lost a dog. Jeez. Sheesh. All right, I got to put y'all on pause here. Yeah, so do you guys trust me with your dogs and children now that every time I have a podcast, I'm always missing them? And I'm like, yeah, come on, let's go. I'm always losing my dogs. Hey, I found them. They just, we have we go down a really jagged road to get there, but we get there. I got them all. They're all accounted for. Don't worry, I really can train dogs. I just apparently don't train my own. Gwendolyn, come. Okay, my dogs are inside. So hopefully all of this stopping and pausing and calling dogs nonsense is over with now. They're inside. They're officially inside. Good gravy. Anyway, relationships, okay? That's the short version. Relationships, they keep me up. It's been keeping me up. It's been stressing me out. It's been making me sad. And it's also, though, strangely freeing and gives me hope. I can just finally start over, start fresh, be Courtney, and just do what I do best, which is live and survive and be happy and help others, and just going to keep on keeping on, keep moving forward. So, what's on your mind? Relationships? Who's going through it? Who is going through it and needing to maybe, well, I always promote, of course, going to counseling and talking it out and trying to work it out first. Of course, if it's a physically, mentally abusive relationship, an unsafe relationship, then, obviously that's probably not good just to try to work that out. But otherwise, I don't believe in people just leaving. I think you should make it a good effort. I think you should genuinely try to do everything you can to work things out first on both ends. Both parties have to be working. It can't be a one-way thing. Both parties have to be working on things. And that's the part that people, I think, have a hard time with, is they want immediate, they want things to change immediately. They want things to be immediately repaired and good right away. And people are so used to now instantaneous, instant gratification. With the internet and technology, everybody wants it now, and no patience. There's like no patience involved. So people have to understand that it takes work and it takes patience, and it's not going to happen right away. Things aren't going to be magically good with one wave of the wand. You have to actually stick with it. And then you could be doing well for quite a while and then maybe have an argument. Like I said, arguing once in a while is a good thing. I'm not talking, again, physical, arguments or screaming and yelling or anything like that. I just mean usually healthy couples disagree once in a while and have little arguments. And then you learn to communicate and you learn how to resolve issues. You learn how to problem solve. If you don't ever have arguments, then you never learn problem solving skills and you don't really communicate, I feel like. Or maybe because you communicate so well, you don't argue, but you don't really learn the problem solving skills. And unless, again, you're just so amazing at problem solving and communication that you just never argue. But I just feel like everybody in the world, if you're a human and you have a brain, no matter how much you love each other and get along and all of that, I feel like every normal relationship, whether it's siblings, child and parent, or your spouse, you're going to have an argument here and there. Otherwise, I feel like you bottle things up and it comes out in other ways that aren't healthy. But anyway, where was I going with all of this? God. So I'm telling you, ramblings of an insomniac. I don't even know where I was going with that, other than, oh, yes. So I think you should definitely try to work things out. But after you've done that, if it just still is not, it's just not working, then it's healthy, obviously, to call things quits and do it amicably. There's no need. I've never understood why parents get into the whole joint, like using children against each other. That's so terrible. To use your children as pawns and try to get everybody for what they can and try to take all their money and try to really screw them to the wall. I've just never understood that. I've been married, we had kids, and both of us wanted what was best for our children. And what's best for our children is for their parents to be adults and to be behaving like adults and to set an example, to show them that even if mom and dad can't be married, they can still be stable for you guys. They can still be healthy and stable for you guys. And they can show you what a relationship can be like. Even if it's divorced, you can still show them what a healthy relationship looks like. Just because you're divorced doesn't mean that you have to be unhealthy afterwards. You can still, at least in front of your children, get along. And using them as pawns is just crappy. We had joint custody. I kept being asked by people why I didn't go for full custody and child support. And I'm like, because it was an amicable thing. We both wanted the divorce. It wasn't like he cheated on me or anything like that. And even if he did, I still wouldn't want to have full custody of the children because he's a good dad and he loves his kids and my kids love their dad. And I wasn't going to take their dad away from them. That's just crappy. Why do that? Kids need both of their parents. And they don't need their parents talking crap about each other to their children. That is my biggest pet peeve, when parents sit there and tell their kids how much of a piece of crap their mom or dad is. Like, why would you do that to your child? Why would you tell your child that? First of all, you are the adult, and that is an adult thing. That's an adult topic, and your children don't need to absorb adult topics. And they certainly don't need to listen to how one of their parents is a piece of crap, because that's their parent and they love that parent. And that is pinning that parent against, you're pinning that parent against them. And that's not cool. That's just selfish and immature. And so we just never did that. And the funny thing was, I was only 25 and he was 26. We were very, very young. And we acted a lot more mature than people twice our age. So it's nice now when you can both agree to disagree, but yet come to a place and say, yeah, we probably should just move on and not be with each other. But I wish you well, and I still care about you. Like, it doesn't have to end. Again, I understand there's a lot of relationships I've been in them where you're not going to just be friends. I get that, because sometimes things happen that are so bad that you can't just, shake hands and pat each other on the back and, be hunky-dory. I get that. I've been in one of those relationships, and we still don't talk. But if you have kids, I just think it's best to at least fake it till you make it, But right now, my kids are grown adults, and thank goodness I don't have that to worry about. But I have a bunch of dogs, and it sounds silly. I know it sounds dumb, but I don't want to leave my dogs. They have been with me, and they've been loyal to me. They've been with me through thick and thin, and I love them, and I don't want to leave them. And obviously, trying to find a place that allows 6 dogs is impossible. So it's a tricky situation, but one thing at a time. I've got to deal with one thing at a time. So I can't even worry about that right this moment. But hey, those are the things that have been keeping me up. I know I've been talking about relationships a lot. I know it's been like the last 3 podcasts I've been babbling on and on about my relationship, and you guys are probably like, ugh, yawn, because I don't have this big dramatic thing like Kim Kardashian or, the reality TV shows. Poor Kim, I always bring her up, but she doesn't listen to me. It's okay. But I do have a lot of other drama that I haven't even talked about, stuff that I keep going back and forth if I should bring up or not, that makes things a lot more interesting, I guess. But for now, those are the things on my mind. And I'm sorry I've been whining about my relationship, and I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing it. But hey, if you're listening to me more than once, maybe you aren't tired of it, and maybe it means you care. Maybe you're checking in on me, and that is freaking rad. That is amazing. And I appreciate it, and I love it. And I genuinely hope that if you're going through it, that you are able to do it in as positive and healthy and mature way as you can. And if not, I'm really sorry. I've been there. I've been on the other end where things were rough and bitter, and it did not end well. And that is hard. Just know that you need to do what is best for you. You need to live for you. And if you have kids, you need to do what's best for your children. And if you don't have kids, you need to do what's best for you, what's healthy for you, even if it's hard, even if it sucks. You have to do what is healthy and best for you. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Ramblings of an Insomniac. And probably my next podcast will be political, because I have a lot of political things on my mind. Harris is pissing me off as usual. She always is. The far left is making me insane, and definitely another source of sleepless nights. So I'll be whining and bitching about them and all of the political crap on my next podcast, I'm sure. Who knows? Who knows? You never know what I'm going to be talking about. That's why you should always tune in, right? Tell a friend. Hey, thanks so much for listening. I hope you have an amazing, an excellent, an awesome, a rad day. Until next time.